shut up, you Americans. You always talk, you Americans. You talk and you talk and you say, let me tell you something, and I just want to say this. Well, you're dead now, so shut up.
There isn't a government on this planet that wouldn't kill us all for that.
Great day in the morning to you. Welcome to Uncle Benny's Creepy Campfire Stories, Project Sludge Report. And I'm your host, Uncle Benny. It is 6:59 a.m. Eastern Standard Time on July 22nd, 2019 AD. It's a Monday. And we are going to cover a few things today that I think you're going to find of great interest. And we did, last night I went through the Drudge Report, and many of the headlines have not changed. Some have been shuffled around. There's a couple new ones. I have a lot of tabs open, but don't let that frighten you. These all pertain to a certain subject having to do with the moon landing and the 50th anniversary, which is being quite hyped. And actually, we've heard a lot of moon stories in the last several weeks, and probably further back than that, talking about how NASA is wanting to put men on the moon again in 2024, but we need an extra $1 billion, at least this year, to our budget to get things rolling. And who knows what that's going to turn into each and every year. But they want more money, and don't hang on tight. Hang on, I'm going to make a turn here. Don't go flying out of the wagon. I don't believe we went to the moon in 1969. And I'm going to show you a little bit about that and point you in some directions that you need to look at yourself. Okay, I'm not a theorist. I've looked at it. I've looked at the evidence, and it just doesn't wash. And there's lots of why would they do that? Well, there's a lot of reasons for that. Most things have multiple purposes. Multi-purposes. So let's get into it. Start with the Sludge Report. So they're still, keeping the fear going on the dramatic moment. Allegedly, Iranian forces hijacked. Well, we don't know, right? I kid you not, and I might as well just talk about this right away. Slaughter the Jews, painted in Arabic on a western wall in Jerusalem. I have not opened this yet, but this fits with what I'm about to tell you. When we see something like this, now I don't know, and I'm not saying this was done by someone other than someone who is an enemy of Israelis or the Jews or whatnot. First of all, there are all kinds of Jews. That's kind of a lumped word. A broad brush is what I'm trying to say. So, slaughter the Jews, painted in, this is the New York Post. Yeah, New York Post. Painted in Arabic. Let's see, Little Western Wall in Jerusalem vandalized with anti-Semitic graffiti. Slaughter the Jews before it was covered over with red paint. Well, first of all we see is red paint. Where's a picture of it before it was covered over? You see? Somebody could have taken a picture of this, and now they're making up a story, right? Maybe there's another picture. Nope. There's the end of the article. No picture. An image tweeted out by the outlet Israel First TV shows the section of the wall after authorities covered it over in red paint. Well, how convenient. A young female was arrested Saturday night in connection with the incident, according to the agency. Her name and exact age were not publicly released. She was referred to as a girl in the report. Well, first of all, it sounds like they've got, this helps verify the story of an anti-Semitic, most likely Palestinian woman or something did this, but we don't know. because it is something that happens, and you can find plenty of examples where terrorist attacks are staged by the very people who claiming to be the victims. You know, it's happened way too many times. You cannot necessarily believe it. So don't. Lies, more lies, damn lies, and goddamn lies, okay? Just be careful, you know? So all this does is, what this perpetuates, you know, Jews want genocide and the Jews. Perpetuates that same story, doesn't it, right? All right, well, my point is this. Back to the Iranian tanker deal. We don't know. Who hijacked the British oil tanker? Was it Iran? Maybe. I don't know. Okay. We talked about a lot of this stuff. We even talked about this before. Trump has not built a single mile of new border fence. Yeah, how about that? Now it's the headline here. Remember, this is supposed to be a conservative paper, and I wouldn't want it to be necessarily biased, but it's interesting how much so many things that seem liberal are mixed in here. Excuse me. And I mean, great if this is ostensibly journalism. It's true. There's been no wall. Think about 2016, the lead up, the campaign, the rallies. You know, not only lock her up, but build the wall, build that whatever. You know, there's no wall. In fact, there's more people crashing the gates than ever before. You think this guy's working for you? Wake up, wakey, wakey. Okay, time to wake up. Get your head out of your behind, and look into it. Realize, use your head. That's all. Use your head. Okay? Use your head. Well, he's better than the other one, that shrill woman. Well, yeah, true. On the aesthetic side of things, I'd rather look at him and listen to him than listen to that creature. But it's a deception. Well, he's surrounded by the swamp. Do you know what kind of people he put in his cabinet? Some businessman he is. Some judge of character he is. Ridiculous. Get your head out of your behind. If this guy is really a great guy and he's just being thwarted, then it's the sorriest thing I've ever seen in my life. Ridiculous. He could have, he's such a billionaire, he probably could have done more for the country as a philanthropic billionaire and doing his own, a billionaire could fund a pretty good militia to get down there in Texas and other border areas and stop the problem. Anyway, moving on. Nadler says Mueller hearing to air evidence of Trump wrongdoing. Okay, this is back in the news again. You know, every president, I can't go back further in my mind than Bush to think of one off the top of my head, but remember the hanging Chad deal with Bush, you know, and the WMDs, which were a lie. There's always something. Let's just talk the hanging Chad, just the election fraud to start with. His brother was governor of Florida, and it was a big deal. That was sort of the swing state, I think, between him and Gore, and it was just a sham. And then that was tainted his presidency, right? The American people are divided and distracted by that issue. Then you had Obama, and you had the birth certificate deal. You had his homosexual pass deal. You had his school records that were sealed and hidden. It's just a very dubious character. Where did he come from? Who is he really? He's got a lot of nefarious things in the past, and that's all true, by the way. But, divisive and distracting the people. Now, after Obama, you've got Trump, and it's about throwing the election and Russian collusion and all this stuff. And it's aren't you sick of it? You think it's not on purpose? Give me a break. The whole world is a stage. Never forget it. ISIS militants returned to Iraq. Well, you must be a conspiracy theorist. No. I'm a realist, and I do my homework, and I look at the evidence, and you need to as well. Stop being pushed. Stop having your head blowing in the breeze like a dandelion, like a daisy, okay? Like a flower blowing in the breeze. This way and that way. Whatever they tell you, your emotions go one way, your thoughts go the other way. You don't think things through. You know, you're going to get a lot of thought-stopping information. Okay, we've already talked about this. We talked about, no, we didn't talk about this, but I'm going to pass on that right now. Let's see. Moving on down. Let's see here. Got through that. We just talked about the slaughter of the Jews. Alleged. Okay. Venezuela fighter jet aggressively shadowed U.S. aircraft. Don't know anything about that. Oh, I want to pull this one up. Mystery is 50 dead whales found up, washed up on. You know, we've been conditioned and trained, you have and I have, to believe what the scientists say. You know, the scientismists, in my opinion. It's a religion, okay? They keep saying it's a mystery when these ocean creatures, usually I wasn't sure. This is in Iceland, okay? So this is more the Atlantic side. I didn't know. I half expected it to be, no, not half, more than half. I expected this to be on the Pacific coast, okay? 50 dead whales washed up on remote beach in Iceland. Well, you know, whales have been beaching themselves for as long as I can remember. And there's theories that, well, they follow a sick one in who's the leader, and that one sort of commits suicide, and the others just follow suit. I don't know. I don't really know. These are pilot whales. I'm familiar with them, but I don't know their swimming habits or what waters they frequent. I also don't know currents. But remember, we got an issue with the Fukushima radiation. So it affects food supplies. And the whole, just because there's a Pacific Ocean and Atlantic Ocean, last I checked, they're all connected. Okay? Maybe these particular creatures are more sensitive. Again, this is pure speculation. It's just a reasonable thinking of the spectrum of possibilities. I have no idea. Okay, let's see here. Okay, they often involve in mass strandings because of their social nature. Okay, well, that's what I was saying earlier. Don't know why this happened. And that's convenient, isn't too. They've been saying that a long time, and I have no reason to say that, other than Fukushima, really, that's not what happened. But, you know, I've found more and more, some of these plans, Satan, Lucifer is an ancient creature. Ancient. Laying plans for a creature like that is... who, you know, obviously is not stupid, right? Well, stupid in some ways, but in rebellion against the Lord. But I'm stupid that way too, aren't I? And so are you. My point being is that these entities have had millennia to plan things ahead. So I don't know, was the whole, like, well, they beached themselves because of social structure. I don't know. I'm getting kind of far afield on this one. I'm just running with a little bit, but let's move on. I accidentally closed the Sludge Report. Let me open that up again. Pull this over. Whoops. What happened? Just closed it. Okay. Yeah. Kind of went a little, just talking it through. That's all. Don't have any idea. It could be that. That could be exactly what's happened. On the other hand, could be a convenient cover story for when, through pollution or experiments or disasters, that these creatures die. The canaries in the coal mine. How do we know whales aren't the canaries of the ocean? As far as, you know what a canary in the coal mine is? Miners would carry a canary down into the mines in a little cage, and if the canary would kick off, they knew they had to get out of there because there's deadly gases. The canary's going to be affected first. So how do we know? I don't know. Excuse me, didn't mean to slurp in the microphone. I hate that. I'm sorry. Did not mean to do that. Let's see. Emerging budget deal likely to include few. Well, that's not news, right? When did they ever actually really cut spending without increasing it somewhere else? The money is just printed out, and you and I pay the interest on that to the globalist banksters. Okay. Let's see. Just want to get almost there. Country radio station blocks Mayor Pete interview from being aired. Don't know much about it. I kind of want to go there, but let's keep it short. We already talked about that. All right, here we go. I thought there was more to do with the space deal going on, and maybe they took some articles off, but I'm going to get into this now. Corporate astronaut, how billionaires took over space race. I haven't explored that or thought too much about it, but I have noticed it with SpaceX and comments that this character Bezos says, and Virgin Atlantic is building, these shuttle things and talking about, basically giving people tourist rides into space. Well, it's not going to happen. Okay. How do you know, Uncle Benny? Because I've looked at it, and you can look at it too. And if you're a reasonable person, if you're watching this, you are. You have a sound mind, and you're going to figure it out yourself. So let me see here. I'll come back to these. Okay, so one thing I want, I did find it, by the way, but I want to show you something, and I'll close a few tabs off of this. So I'm aware of a video, and it's just something to point you in the right direction. Believe me, I have not made all my conclusions based on one video or one little documentary or anything like that. This has taken a long time. I had a vested interest in everything I grew up on being true. I wanted to be an astronaut. I was into it. Built rockets. I read books on space propulsion. I remember even making paintings of kind of like about, I remember I had an obelisk in 2001 and a planet like Jupiter. Sometimes I just did it in high school or something. It was just something I did. I'm just trying to give you an idea that I was into it. Quantum physics, I read about that. Talking in high school, I was really into it. And as a boy, especially the imagination, I've said it before, Star Trek, Space 1999, Battlestar Galactica, Star Wars, E.T., the extraterrestrial, Close Encounters of the Third Kind, could keep going. Let me think of another one there was. I think I said Space 1999 television show. At any rate, so I typed this in, and this isn't the only search terms I use. Astronaut and capsule faking, and I put in distance from Earth, this and that, because I should pull up the Apollo mission, and we can get the dates exactly. But it was around now that they were going back, that they went to the moon, allegedly, okay, with the whole nation watching. So I could not find this. Now, what I'm talking about, for example, is this. You see this? Apollo 11, Earth views and crew activities. I'm going to show you. I'm going to play an 8-minute video. You'll be glad you watched it. Hang in there. This is fake. It makes it look like they're far away from the Earth, doesn't it? Now, this video here, I don't think gets into that. It's just a video, and this is part of the video. But that's the window. They're not far above Earth. And that window is being, there's a camera on the back side of the little capsule, and they're holding. That's a window, and they're on the other side of the capsule, and the lights are off, and there's an astronaut right here holding something over that window to give it this shape. You don't believe me? It ought to raise enough questions that you go on a quest to say, what is this all about? Why would they do that? Well, I'll let you go on your own journey, but I'm wishing you a bon voyage, okay? Let's close that. Don't need that anymore. Here is actually the live. Now, this is supposed to be in real time. I can turn the audio on for a minute. There's nothing going on because apparently they're in the mission phase of returning to Earth. Now, this is July 22nd. I don't remember the dates, but I remember it was in July. I think maybe they allegedly landed on July 20th, I think. So this will be the second day in the return, July 22nd. That may be about right. I think it was July 20th, wasn't it, that they allegedly stepped on the moon. I think so. So anyway, that's on YouTube right now. Again, they're making a big deal about this whole thing. And we've had run-ups. We're trying to get people back on the moon, allegedly. NASA wants more money. Okay, moving on. I'll close this. Okay. This article, or this video, is by City News Toronto, and I have not watched it. It's 2 minutes, 20 seconds. We're not going to watch it. You can find it yourself. And published on July 19th this year, just a couple days ago. Many still convinced moon landing was a hoax. Now, I'm going to tell you a little story. I've mentioned this fellow who was like an older brother to me. And I can't say they were ones that got me into rocketry, maybe, but he was into rocketry as well, and still is, or at least has been in recent years, even at our age. And I'm talking in the garage building something that looks it looks like a missile. You know, when you get older, those little Estes rockets don't do it. You want to start building multi-stages and put cameras on them and stuff that lifts off slowly like the big ones do, you know? And I think that it's even of the kind that he's got to get permission from local airports, you know, to let him kind of file a flight log or something. So I think he was living somewhere like, he'd moved, he was in his early 20s or something. He'd moved somewhere, he's working, and I visited, and we went out. We were at like a diner, cafe, and there was a guy there. I don't remember how it came up. I don't remember, but I do remember this. The guy saying that it was a hoax. And I remember thinking, that guy's nut job. And my friend was the same way. It's like the guy was, whacked in the head. Like he's a crazy. Guess what? I never forgot that. And I don't remember the guy's demeanor or that he looked crazy, or anything like that, and how it even came up. But that was the first person I ran into in my life. And this is pre-internet, all this, who ever, like he kind of came against everything I knew. I had no reason to kind of question the reality that I was fed through television. And maybe not the first time, because I used to watch In Search Of with Leonard Nimoy. I've been aware of the world is not always what it seems. I had an uncle who I believe even worked with Warner Von Braun at the Redstone Arsenal in Alabama. And one of his hobbies was he read Guinness Book of World Records. So when we'd visit as a little boy, I could take home like the old Guinness Book of World Records. I got to take these home. Real thick books. They were very interesting. So I read about a lot of freaky things in the world, a lot of anomalies. And things aren't what they seem. That's my point there. Things aren't always what they seem, and it's a wide world. And this was the first time, other than things like In Search Of, where, here's a real life guy who said with all kinds of conviction that this was a hoax. So people even back in the day believed it was a hoax. When I say back in the day, this wasn't in the 70s when I heard this, but there were people going as far back as when this happened that didn't believe what they were seeing, not because they just had small minds, but there were other tells. Okay, so let's look at some of these comments here. First guy, 50 years of peeing in your face and tell you it's raining. LOL. Okay, so I love to read comments. It kind of gives you a feel of what I haven't watched the 2-minute video. Not worried about it for the purposes of the Sludge Report here, but get ready for the fake invasion, boys and girls. Now, what I look at the replies, but what this is referring to is that there's a big deception going on, and part of it may have to do with alien invasion, or aliens revealing themselves. And again, Jesus was one of them. He was just another avatar or prophet, or he was from Alpha Centauri or something like that. Let's see here what they say. Let's see. Project Bluebeam. Let's see. Fake alien invasion will happen soon. Epstein's been caught. Hillary ain't going to prison. They're getting ready now for the false flag. Let's see. Man never went to the moon. Again, one thing you'll find with a lot of people who, like myself, who are saying that we didn't go to the moon, this martyr for Jesus the Christ, this is clearly someone who is some flavor of Christian, right? Who's probably a Bible believer. Man never went to the moon. NASA admits it in various ways. Here's one proof example. Go to Forbidden Knowledge. NASA admits never went to the moon. And they have done things like that. Even when they've said recently, some officials have said, we don't have the technology anymore. What? Just think about that. Remember what I've said biblically, out of the heart, the mouth speaks. So people slip up. You've slipped up. Stuff comes out of your mouth that you actually didn't mean to say, but it's the truth, right? Okay. Here we go. Intellectual people know it's a hoax. NASA established in 1958, sends man on moon in 1962. No other country can do it even now in 2019. Yeah, of course it's real. See, people aren't stupid. Look, there has not been one comment on here yet that is telling us yet that all these people are crazy, right? Where are even the shills? Okay, this has been up for about 2 days. I'm going somewhere with this, and you'll be glad we did. Thank you for coming along the little ride with me. It can absolutely change your life. This may set you on fire. This could be your 9/11 was an inside job moment. Okay, I love how they find these experts to tell us that we're crazy. This is just, see, I didn't have to watch the video. Kind of know what's coming. Do you think the city of Toronto, let's see, what was the name of it? City News Toronto is gonna validate the people who believe it's a hoax, or is it gonna be another talking head news guy who they, just like when they report UFO stories, they kind of make a little, they giggle and they laugh at people. Who are those news people? Part of the cabal. Whatever level they're on, whether they're just doing their job and assignments and whatnot, they're fearful cowards. They're part of the Borg. They're human beings. Don't get me wrong. I'm not trying to dehumanize them, but they're sorry people. Sorry, weak-minded people. They may have great looks, a great career, a great position in their community as the news guy. They may have maybe really articulate. They may have a lot of charisma, but they're to be pitied. You like how bold I speak? The righteous are bold as a lion. Now, I'm not righteous in and of myself, but through Christ, okay? And he gives you the spirit of truth. And the spirit of truth will guide you into all truth. And when you have the truth, it's a sword. And you don't need to fear. Okay, let's see here. I love how they find these experts tell us that we are crazy. This is just another lie that they spread. Remember the WMDs in Iraq? Okay, Stanley Kubrick filmed it. In one of my videos a week or so ago, I mentioned something about they were delaying. There was an article in the Drudge Report about delaying. They're having problems getting the moon program together for another expedition. And I mentioned, and I did put it in the comments to correct myself, but I said something, they don't have someone like Francis Ford Coppola. But I meant, and he would be one, that could possibly do it. But and they're not that there aren't any. But this guy, I've never even seen the movie Eyes Wide Shut. Seems like more that's a, well, anyway, Stanley Kubrick, okay? He was an insider, or at least had knowledge of inside things on the quote-unquote elite level. And through his movies, there's a great movie, the movie The Shining with Jack Nicholson, Red Rum, The Shine. Well, in that movie, Stanley Kubrick was trying very hard to tell us that it was all fake. And there's a good documentary on it. Can't think of the name of it off the top of my head, but watch that. Blow your mind, Open your mind, and open your mind, enlighten your mind is what I'm trying to say. That's what I'm trying to say. To bring you out of darkness. Actually, NASA gave him special lens for filming, and just prior to the moon landing, he filmed Space Odyssey. That's all true. Okay, we can skip all the comments here. Let's move on. So, one thing I want to point out, notice on any video, now this one I don't know. This is the one, this is actually the one I closed earlier that had the thumbnail image of the window of the capsule that allegedly is a picture of Earth from like close to the moon, far away, but it's not. And I'll show you that in a minute. And I don't know that this video gets into it being fake. I don't think it does. But the Apollo space program, this Encyclopedia Britannica, if you've noticed, YouTube will always put some kind of correct, like this is the truth. Go to Wikipedia, go to Encyclopedia Britannica. We just want to remind you that that's for the real. This is just a video that we want to juxtapose it with the true story. It's kind of funny. That's only been going on, seems like, in the last year. And, I'm not sure if I pointed, yeah, I did. I pointed out when I put in the search terms, for, here, let me even do this. Astronauts fake distance from Earth. Astronaut were not near the moon in July. Astronauts faking distance from Earth. Astronauts in capsule faking. Astronaut Apollo's distance from Earth camera window. That's the one where I finally found something. And that's what I'm going to play. And I've seen it before a long time ago. It's pretty good. But the title, you'll notice the title when I show you is like nondescript. So what it leads me to believe in these days of censorship, which have really ramped up. YouTube's been scrubbed. For this 50-year anniversary, they've scrubbed a lot of these fake videos, and I'm going to show that to you in a second. I'll prove it to you. I'll prove it. I don't need a lot of proof for that. You know, I can tell you that the difficulty I had, I spent like 10, 15 minutes trying to find the video that I'd seen before. Very difficult to find. Shouldn't be that hard. Okay. So, let's see here. Anyway, I've already closed this. Let's close it again. Yeah, so I had all these search results, you know, at faking distance from Earth. I could not find the, here's the same image again, and this is with narration by Neil Armstrong. It's Space Videos channel. I know that they're not going to point out that this is being faked, but I'm going to show you that it was. You know, I could change your life here with this information in a few minutes, okay? But, you know, if you scroll down, you can't find it. There are some probably fake videos, like, well, this one has, like, it looks like Cambodian or Thai language or something. Here, moon landing via Apollo mission was definitely not a hoax. Okay, so this is a debunker. Oh, that's Hindi. Okay. Yeah, let's, you know, you just have to search far and wide now. Okay, this is the video I'm going to play, but I want to show you something. This is LiveLeak. I thought, oh, well, I'll find it on LiveLeak, you know. LiveLeak is a video upload site where you can see all kinds of horrible things. You know, people with cell phones all over the world are capturing accidents, murders, you name it. I'm not recommending it. Don't go there. You could really seriously injure your head by getting some images in here if you're not careful what you watch. But it's a repository of, you know, it's supposed to be not really censored, right? Well, unfortunately, the problem with it being censored is that this was linked to YouTube. Okay, so that doesn't appear that it was really uploaded to LiveLeak. So Buzz Aldrin's shown leaked footage of Apollo 11 crew faking their mission and reacts badly. So there is a researcher or an author. I can't think of his name all of a sudden, but he's done some confrontation. He's tried to get the astronauts to swear on a Bible. They won't do it. And that doesn't prove anything necessarily, but it's interesting. So questions need to be answered. Why would the astronauts need to fake a shot of the Earth from the moon, right? Yeah, it's a great question. Seen by the timestamp on the reel, they were clearly still in Earth's orbit when only 12 hours later they're supposed to have landed on the moon. Yeah, it's weird. So anyway, here you go. It's unavailable. Can't watch it. So I was disappointed. I'm like, oh man, it's really scrubbed it out. So this is a website called Above Top Secret. I don't really frequent this website. You know, it makes it sound like there's all kinds of, you know, you're going to hear first information, insider stuff, and maybe there is some, but I'm not into it, this site. I'm just not into it. But here you go. I just found this video on a random blog. It shows footage leaked by the Apollo 11 astronauts from inside the spacecraft as they filmed different shots of Earth from the window. Well, they're actually in space, but they aren't as far away from Earth as they say. Watch the video. There's great narration. Interesting stuff indeed. So that's the video I think I'm going to play you. I believe it's the same one, but it you know, it's had to be re-uploaded and retitled, and I should probably download it because once it's found, they'll take it down. Promise you. Man, they might even take my video down if, well, no, if that one's still up there, if this one right here that I'm going to play you is still up there, unedited Apollo 11 Earth shot. So the title you see is not very revealing as it being about the, I couldn't find it with my search terms, except it did come up eventually with some things, and I think because I put faking and well, I don't know, maybe there was something in the comments, but fortunately I found it for, you know, in time to make this video, because last night I said I wanted to get into it, but I didn't really do much on it. So there you go. You know, the videos have been taken down off of YouTube, right? I want to tell you, for more information, this is a guy that I recently came across. He'd been popping up, but I hadn't really watched stuff, but I really like him. I don't know if he's a pastor, a minister, or something, but he talks about a lot of different topics, but he is aware of deceptions. You know, he kind of does like what I'm doing in a way, and he's got his own approach and take, and I find him very articulate, very well researched, and he seems to be a man of God, and I highly recommend him. Vincent Rhodes. I just subscribed this morning to him because I want to be updated. He does videos quite frequently. He seems to be a really good man, and he talks about a lot of very interesting things. So check him out. Let's see here. I'll get into this. We're almost done here. Take this aside. Remember the image in the thumbnail and those other videos that were talking about, even Neil Armstrong narrating, like this is really them close to the moon. Okay, it's the same image. Watch.
Conversations discussing the techniques used to achieve a disingenuous picture depicting the Earth at a distance in order to falsely demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. It cannot be misconstrued that this staging was done for some other reason prior to the mission, for the reel itself is slated and dated July 18th, 19th and 20th, 1969, the very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit.
Well, we got a little bit of a hang up here. I'm not sure what's going on. I'm still showing my stream connection to the video. So if you're hearing me, I'm not being interrupted. Let me refresh the browser on this one. So I'm not sure what's going on here.
It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo.
Catch up.
July 18th, 19th and 20th, 1969.
Well, I don't know what's going on here. Let me make sure. Okay, 7:20. That should be okay.
The very days of the mission when they were said to be approaching and achieving lunar orbit. Furthermore, it is apparent they are in genuine zero gravity aboard the actual spacecraft, necessary to convince the mass media of their authenticity, just not any further than Earth orbit, as you will see. In this never-before-seen or heard footage, not only is the radio conversation between the astronauts and Houston Control audible, there is a secondary, private conversation taking place between the crew and a third confidential party, prompting the astronauts with what to say, when to speak, and how to effectively manipulate the camera to achieve the desired misleading effect. NASA claims that the Houston transmissions were the only ones taking place with the astronauts. Listen now as Houston Control initiates a conversation with the crew, only to find them too preoccupied with the behind-the-scenes trickery to respond. Moments pass and the oversight is picked up on by the clandestine third party, who quickly prompts them with talk. Immediately, Neil Armstrong speaks.
Hello, Apollo 11. Houston, Goldstone says that the TV looks great. Over. Okay, Roger. We're mapping in on Earth.
Again, the illusion they are attempting to create is the Earth at a distance to demonstrate their far journey from it and their ability to survive passing through the Van Allen radiation belts. Understand, too, that only about 20 seconds of this raw footage was ever broadcast to the public, and these conversations discussing their deception were believed to be private. Until now. Here they discuss that these television transmissions were in fact not broadcast live as everyone believed. They were first screened and edited for playback later.
Roger, Neil. We just wanted a narrative such that we can, when we get to playback, we can sort of correlate what we're seeing. Thank you very much.
Here they discuss the fact that they have turned out the lights and have blocked out sunlight from entering the spacecraft through the other windows, as to not cause any reflected light to fall onto the spacecraft's wall in the foreground.
Okay, very good. Well, we shut out the sun coming in some of the other windows into the spacecraft, so it's looking through the number one window, and there isn't any reflected light.
The reason this was done is so that the truth of the matter would not be revealed. It is this. Though the federal government would have you believe that this is a view of Earth from a distance out of the spacecraft's window as it nears the moon, it is not. What they have ingeniously done is placed the camera at the back of the spacecraft and centered the lens on a circular window in the foreground, outside of which it is completely filled with the Earth in low orbit. The circumference of the window then appears to be the diameter of the Earth at a distance, with the darkened walls of the spacecraft appearing to be the blackness of space around it. That is why they wanted the interior dark and blocked out the sun from entering through the other windows. Here you can see the extruded window, probably 2 inches thick at the bottom. This is because the Earth's shine is coming in at a downward angle. It also causes the Earth to appear to be an irregularly shaped circle, for you are seeing the outside of the window at the bottom and the inside of the window at the top, which together form 2 different sized halves of a circle. Subsequently, this take was never used. As they perfected the shot, a crescent-shaped piece of black material was inset slightly into the window to create the illusion of the Earth's terminator line dividing night and day. It is uncannily convincing. During this segment, intended to be edited and played back later for the worldwide television audience, dated July 18, 1969, Neil Armstrong condemns himself as he states that he is 130,000 miles out, or halfway to the moon, as the NASA flight log also states on this date, when he is in reality in low Earth orbit of a few hundred miles.
Roger, Houston, Apollo 11. Calling in from about 130,000 miles out.
Here, during another segment, also intended to air after review, Neil Armstrong falsely explains to the viewers how the shot is attained.
That's not your internet. That's something going on with this video. I don't want to lower the video quality, and I'm sorry this is happening. It usually doesn't happen, does it? I haven't seen this happen before. You know, I don't know if this just has to do with you know, I'm not thinking it's being tampered with or anything like that. I'm just unfortunately we have a couple minutes left, and this is where it gets really good. So hang in there. You know, I'm sure you're already curious if you've been following along, and hopefully this will kick in a minute. So we're at 544. I'm going to just refresh it again. Actually, let me change the settings and I'll change them back. So it dropped down to 360. Let me go to 480. Sometimes you just change the settings here and it will kick back in. Well, it's unfortunate. Let me close a few of these. Let's see. Don't need that one. Okay. All right, I'm going to refresh this. Go to 544.
It contains the raw or
Yeah, that's kind of a bummer, isn't it? Let me lower the quality. We can close the Sludge Report too. Close that now. Just trying to cut down any connections to the internet. But I don't think, you know, I'm still connected streaming. So it's not my internet. It's something on YouTube or with the upload of this video. So let's lower the quality yet again. Go to 240. Honestly, I don't know that we really need high quality to kind of get the idea here. Let's just go to the lowest view. Unbelievable. Yeah, maybe the video has been screwed up. While we're waiting for the sound to come back on. Never heard them say any of what she said they had said. No, they did. In the window would a load of shite. They turned the lights off to stop glare. Well, this guy doesn't sound like he could have made it to the end of the video. This one says this is quite convincing. So there's, if NASA faked Fall 11, the Soviet Union, who was monitoring the transmissions, would have gleefully gone public exposing the hoax. Really? Are you sure about that? Are all the nations, you know, how many of them are Masonic leaders? You know, are you sure about this? So, anyway, well, you know, I've shown enough But
It contains the raw or unedited footage of the crew of Apollo 11, Michael Collins, Edwin Aldrin Jr., and Neil Armstrong, staging part of their mission for...
the sad thing is I'm not even...
It explains to the viewers how the shot is attained by putting the camera's lens to the window's glass, as it would have to be if they were the claimed distance away from the Earth.
Now, I've lowered the quality of the video quite a bit. It shouldn't make a difference, and you've already seen it. I mean, this isn't going to change the image. What we're looking for is when the lights come on. Now, I scanned over here and seen the images, and I'm not really seeing that yet, but hopefully that's in here, and I just can't see it because it's very brief. But that's what you need to see, and it's out there to be seen somewhere.
We only have one window that has a view of the Earth, and it's filled up with a TV camera.
If the window was completely filled up with a TV camera, as he stated, then an astronaut's arm would not be able to get between the camera and the window, as it obviously does here in this outtake.
South America becomes invisible just off beyond the Terminator or inside the shadow.
You can also notice how the astronaut operating the camera reacted to the mistake by attempting to pan away from it.
Blue gas, see white bands of major cloud formations across the Earth. And you
This is a segment that they believed wasn't even being recorded, much less suitable for broadcast, for the lens was being zoomed out and the scene was being changed to that of an interior of the astronauts at work, and apparently the stop button popped back up on the recorder without notice. Here is the diffused work light that they used to see camera controls, but not throw light onto the spacecraft's wall. Here they remove part of the crescent insert. Finally, the iris is opened up and you can see the real location of the camera and the very bright and near Earth out the window. Here is the slate for the 19th of July, and the same shot of trickery on the 19th of July, and then the 20th, and the same misleading shot on the 20th. Later that evening, they were said to be walking on the moon. How can this be when they were in Earth orbit only 9 hours earlier, and the moon is some 3 days' journey away? Furthermore, if they genuinely went to the moon, why would they be faking any part of it? Why this trickery with the window? By faking being halfway to the moon, it becomes apparent that they did so because they could not even go halfway.
Okay, so we finally got through it. It took a little bit longer, but there you go. Now, if you want to look that up and watch it again, and not just on this video, unedited Apollo 11 Earth shot on somebody's website named Kappy Vine Oki. Okay, Kaapi Vine Oki, Okey. So watch it again. Listen carefully. If this, it would not be. Don't think it's kind of weird if you've got like cognitive dissonance. Don't think it's if you have the feelings like I need to watch that again. Believe me, it's possible your brain was shutting out like her narrative of what she was telling you. But if you watch it carefully, it all makes sense. And it's pretty straightforward. What do you need to know more than that, really? But there's a lot more to know about it. For example, the size of their spacesuits and even the lander that's in the museum and everything is like you couldn't fit through the doors. The fact that when the lunar lander comes down and it's all dust and their boots are leaving prints in it, but it doesn't leave any kind of a crater with the rockets. I mean, there's just so many things. And then there's also the shadows and the clear faking of the zero gravity or low gravity. There's so many things. You'll have to study it out yourself, but I'm pointing you in the right direction, and I'm telling you, you will, if you've got a rational, reasonable mind, and you really want to know the truth, you'll find out that we're being lied to. Why? Well, I don't even know about the low Earth orbit bit. I believe a lot of the stuff from the space station is shot in these these zero-G simulator planes. There's evidence for that. And, you know, I'm not going to get into globe Earth and flat Earth and all that. That's sort of outside of this video and outside of really my, well, I don't even want to say expertise or anything, but like, you know, I've made some forays into that. Read a fantastic book called Terra Firma. The Earth is not a planet. Let's see. Hang on. Let me look it up, because if you're interested in that, because this does tie into this story. You know, why are they fake? Why are they doing this? Why are they doing this? The Earth, a plane, not a. Let's see. Not a planet. Let me think. I can't think of the title. It was written like in the 1800s. Fascinating. You got to read it. Scripture and Reason. It'll come up. Let's see here. Spelled that wrong. Terra Firma. The Earth not a planet. Proof from Scripture. Scripture, Reason. It's on. You'll find it on YouTube. You won't find it in your library. Proof from Scripture, Reason, and Fact. You know, I didn't even have to finish this book. It very quickly will blow your mind, you know, and you're going to have, if anything, it's going to leave you with questions that can't be answered, other than continuing on in the book, or other books or whatnot. But like, you're going to find out we're being lied to about so many things. And why? Well, it's all about end time deception. It is. So I wanted to talk about this a minute. The Washington Monument became a rocket for the Apollo 11 anniversary. I didn't watch this. I guess 2 hours every night, and maybe it'll be over tonight. For the 50th anniversary. So that's the Washington Monument.
I was just thinking, I was like, so do you think that's I was wondering how.
So, and you can tell they've projected. It's very cool. You know, it's cool. They've projected the image of the Apollo 11. I mean, I used to always think that was the coolest thing. And when it took off, and the cameras and all the paint chips falling off, and the liquid nitrogen, you know, cascading down. Oh man, it just captured your imagination, and also your wonder at those kind of men that would sit at the top of this missile, you know, with wives and maybe even children at home. I don't remember, but they had wives, and they would go, you know, do that. You know, it has everything. So, you know, I've been to the Huntsville Space and Rocket Center, and maybe that's what that was a shot of. You just saw like an actual, you know, they had like, I don't remember if they had they had Mercury Redstone, I believe, where you could actually walk under it. I'm not sure about the Saturn V, as I used to call it, but Saturn V. They had big sections laid out, massive. You know, it was just awe-inspiring. So like I said, I have a lot of vested interest in this. But so here you have the Washington Monument, which is an Egyptian obelisk, which is a phallic symbol, which has to do with the god Ra and everything. Okay, in Washington, there's lots of esoteric symbols in Washington D.C. It's a complete, it's a mind boggler in and of itself. So they're Apollo. This is what I had pulled up here. Apollo is one of the most important Olympian deities in classical Greek and Roman religion. Now, who were these men? Now, I understand most, if not all, astronauts are Masons, or were Masons. During, like, for example, these guys were Freemasons. And that's curious. If you know about Masonry and Albert Pike, and at the top, they worship Lucifer. Now, you're low-level Mason. Maybe your dad's a Mason. Maybe your husband's a Mason. Maybe, you know, they go to like 3rd degree. It goes up to like 33rd, okay? And it's compartmentalized. So depending on your character or what you'd be able to, how you respond to things, or what your value is to these people, how you proceed up through the ranks. So most people think it's just a club and service organization. Well, Albert Pike's own writings explain that they worship Lucifer. So if you don't know that, then you need to read Morals and Dogma, and you're going to have problems, and you need to come out of it. Come out of her, my people. Let's see. Apollo is also a god who could bring ill health and deadly plague with his arrows. You can go read this if you want. The point is that that space mission was named after a Greek god. Why? People want to consider the United States a Christian nation, and all this, but you have Columbia Space Shuttle, Washington D.C. is the District of Columbia. That's a goddess. There's lots of things to wonder about, but it tells you sort of who these people are. They're telling you who they are. Okay. Anyway, so they're projecting this god upon the Washington Monument, which is a phallic symbol, meaning it represents the penis of I'm getting my not even mythology. Can't remember. Is it Horus? One of them was dismembered, and anyway, I'll look it up later. It's early, right? It's early. I haven't even finished my second cup of Joe. And my point is that they're projecting the Apollo rocket. It's the name of a god, a Rephaim or Nephilim. I believe the Greek gods were real. They weren't just myths. You learn about this, that Zeus and Mercury and Apollo and all these Greek gods were just myths. Well, the Bible says there were giants in the earth in those days in Genesis chapter 6, and that the sons of God stole women, basically mated with them and created the giants. These were men of renown, meaning that they did great and terrible deeds, incredible strength, incredible intelligence, all kinds of things. So they became worshipped by people. So anyway, there you go. Look into it. Okay. Let's see what the comments say here real quick. You need to look. I'm not just urging you. I'm demanding you look into it, or just don't come back to my channel because you're not interested in any truth, and I just given you enough to go find out, come back, and then we'll carry on. Okay, but don't just let this stuff go in one ear and out the other, because don't watch a channel like this. Then just go on in your darkness, and ignorance is bliss. Let's see if anybody's got so many people. Terrific Amish is one of the most amazing achievements in human history. So it fits the agenda of humanism. We have become like gods. We can put men on the moon. We can now put them on Mars. Celebrates what we can do as a people when we work together towards common goals in the power frontier. Well, I just showed you that it looks like it was faked. I just showed you enough to say, well, it looks like it, right? Well, I'm telling you it is, but you need to go find that out for yourself. This is funny. Somewhat ironic, this technological triumph is projected on a structure in which they can't get the elevator working properly. True that. So this guy's thinking clearly. Let's see. Okay. Well, I was looking for interesting comments, and Okay, so a couple other things. There was an article, and this was in the Drudge. Let me pull it up again here real quick. Up here in the corner. We'd already seen one just like this just a few weeks ago. Update: surge of Africans crossing into Texas. Now, I don't know if this is an update on that same article or not. Maybe it is, okay? But Fox 5, I don't know where that is. Maybe it's a local Texas station. Over 1,000 African migrants arrested near Mexican border. Okay, this is dated July 20th, and then updated July 20th. Okay, so this is a different story. According to a new report from Border Patrol, 1,100 people from 19 different African countries have been arrested illegally crossing the border since May 30th. The apprehension of people from African countries illegal crossing borders continues to increase. Now, this is important, Think about there's issues with the Ebola we hear about, There's issues with some of these people's ideologies. They're not here to assimilate. They're here to grift, steal, rob, kill, murder. Not all of them, okay? Don't make me do your thinking for you. But I'm telling you, there are people from other parts of the world who have radically different values than you're used to growing up with. That you're used to. They have different ideas of law and order. They have different ideas of your value as a woman, your value as a human being. Not all of them, back off with your claims of racism, and you don't have to be black to be African. There's white Africans too. Okay, most likely these are black Africans, but the odds are that these people are lawless. They're invading the country, and they're here to not come in and assimilate and respect the laws. It's just that simple. Use your head. Okay, so this is more than double the total number of arrests made during the previous year. The majority, like I told you, is a bum rush to the border. Trump's not built a wall. He has other means to stop the influx. There's a lot of things going on to get these people here way before they get to the border. We have a Navy. We have troops that go on secret missions and all this kind of... What's going on? Why not? Well, because that's what they want. Okay? It's just that simple. So, let me read a couple things the Bible say. A prudent man foresees the evil and hides himself, but the simple pass on and are punished. So if you just pass on and you just keep going, and I've shown you the evil of the deceptions, and you maybe heard it other places, you'll be punished in many ways. I'm not saying you're going to get, a whipping from God per se, but it's in your best interest to wise up. The simple are not the wise. The simple pass on or punish. The prudent, meaning the wise, foresees the evil, or even just sees the evil, let's say, okay? And then I want to talk about hiding, okay? In Psalm 25, it says, the secret of the Lord is with them that fear him, or respect him, or, worship him. And he will show them his covenant. And then in Colossians 3, verses 1 to 3, it says, if you then be risen with Christ, seek those things which are above, where Christ sits on the right hand of God. Set your affection on things above, not on things on the earth, for you are dead, and your life is hidden with Christ in God. Okay? So, when it says, see the evil and hide yourself, and don't just pass on, don't just say, yeah, or, you're a conspiracy theorist, oh, you're just a nutcase. Pass on and be punished, Be fearful, and you'll be punished. Be cowardly, you'll be punished. There's a punishment in and of itself. But if you see the evil, if you feel that conviction of, I need to know the truth. Lord, show me the truth. Lead me in all the truth about myself, about you, about the word, about history, about doctrine, about, the lies we're being told. He'll cut through the darkness, right? And hide yourself in Christ through his salvation and his word. And I need you to. I need it myself more and more, I need it myself. I need to every day renew my mind. It's one reason I do these videos. And set your affection on things above, not on things on this earth. Now, that does not mean think about going to Mars and the moon. That's what man talks about doing or aspires to do. Set your affection on heavenly things, but not the heavens as far as going up and being a rock star astronaut, Study to live a quiet life. Be thankful for the things that you have. Contentment with godliness is great game, So, one last thing here, and then we're done. This article, when you need money for prescription psychedelics, Burning Man is your destination. Well, I scanned through this article, and I don't know when Burning Man is coming up. Every year, these people go out in the desert and do, get pretty crazy. And this guy, the upshot of this, you can look up the article if you want, is that the rich and powerful are basically promoting, let's just call it better living through chemistry and using psychedelics and ecstasy as basically a mental health drug. The tickets now at Burning Man, $425 plus $100 for parking. $525 to go out in the baking sun, go into orgy tents, or what's that mean? It means people can have sex with people who are willing to have sex with them, total strangers, in tents. Lots of of nudity, lots of, I don't know how much drinking goes on out there, but there's a lot of using drugs, and on the playa, and so here it says, ostensibly a fringe art festival, Burning Man is about sex and recreational drugs for a large number of festival goers. It talks about it being bacchanalian, okay? Bacchus, the god of the Roman god of wine, or Greek god of wine. I'll have to look that up later. Again, I'm a little rusty on some of this stuff. But Burning Man is really kind of like Wicker Man. In fact, last year, I believe it was, a guy on drugs committed suicide when they did the Burning Man part, threw himself into the burning structure. Burned up right in front of everybody. Died, Well, I don't know. What possessed him to do that? Possessed is the key word. What kind of magic and rituals and summonings are going on out there? Will this happen every year? I don't know that that's the first time somebody's done that. Maybe the first time they did it and actually died. The point being is that this is a religious festival. Make no mistake about it. There's something weird going on here. For the uninitiated, for the unenlightened, they think it's just a party in the desert and a hip place to be. But it's a lot more than that. Just, you'll find out. Okay? And anyway, this guy is esteemed and given legitimacy. That's really the whole upshot of this article is this guy who was the Timothy Leary of the 80s, is what he's being called, sold a lot of ecstasy. Okay? Lots of people have died and been paralyzed and all kinds of things from ecstasy. Maybe bad batch or maybe just their reaction to it. I don't know. I'm just riffing off this article here. But definitely there have been a lot of casualties from it. It's sold as a street drug, right? And this guy, this article is ostensibly looks like an intelligently written article, and it just gives it an air of legitimacy, especially since a lot of the people, like this guy's going out there to meet with people who run or CEOs of different corporations. One of the founders of Google, I guess, Brin. Let's see where's his name here, and tell us. Just want to be accurate. Let's see. Here, Doplin is acquainted with Brin, the co-founder of Alphabet Inc. Now, Alphabet Inc. is Google, okay? Like so many rich Silicon Valley types, Brin is a regular at Burning Man, the week-long bacchanal in the Nevada desert that will begin again in late August. Several months before the 2018 burn, Doblin had cornered Brin in a gathering at Fly Ranch, a nearby property the festival goers own, and talked up the pharmaceutical potential of mushrooms and ketamine. Now, we're hearing a lot more about how microdosing LSD or mushrooms is, these things can be portals for spirits. How many people, they claim to have a religious experience off of these things, but what really, are they perceiving that they're having these profound moments? One has to wonder what's really come out of it. Now, I'm not condemning. God put every herb-bearing seed on earth for us to use for food, and there's medicine. And I'm maybe the first one to say I don't think these things should necessarily be illegal and whatnot. But just like anything else, them being promoted or touted, and they're saying this is the way. Christ is in here. Now, I'm going to look that up real quick. And Jesus, not his real name. He says, wait a second, I might have a problem with my, something's going on with one of my programs. Let me, Christ is, let's see. Yeah, Matthew 24:23, okay. If anyone says to you, lo, here is Christ, or there, believe it not. So what they're really saying, and maybe this is where I should end it because that's what I'm getting at, is that they really talk about this in terms of being a healing religious experience. And basically they're saying Christ is here. Christ is there. Christ is in psychedelics. Well, I'm not saying somebody can't have some kind of profound experience on these things, and most certainly they do, but there's a lot of dangers involved. Right now, these things are generally illegal, and the quality is going to be a problem. But, here it is, and we're hearing about it a lot. This is in Bloomberg. More and more. Again, this is social conditioning of, making this accepted, normal. Look, the elite are doing it. The CEOs, it must be okay. Or they have an edge, we don't, Well, just beware of that. Beware of that. Let's see here. Center camp and encircles the man. A wooden effigy burns at the end of the event each year. There's a great movie, and I would recommend I think there's 2 versions of it. I recommend watching the one from the late 60s or very early 70s called Wicker Man. If you want to know what I'm talking about. Wicker Man. Watch Wicker Man. And watch the pagans, what they do with Christians. You'll see. Wicker Man. Okay? There comes a time, and the time is now, where they will kill the righteous and believe they're doing a service to God. It's true. Okay. All right, that's enough for me. Make a great day. Thanks for coming out. And let's see here. Trying to shut it off. Having trouble shutting it off even. Okay, well, I have to close this stuff down. Maybe. Okay, this happens occasionally.